I'm joined by one half of Friday's Bellator 281 main event MVP, Michael Page, who takes on Logan Storley, change an opponent. How fast did they come up with Logan? Was it a kind of a stressful process for you, or did they come up with an opponent quick?
To be fair, I don't actually deal with that whole thing at all. I just kind of get updated. So as things change, and like I said, there was a bit of politics, kind of sorting out the next opponent, but not my stress. I'm just training, and when I hear who I need to face next, which was Logan, we made some adjustments in our training, adjustments in who we was going to bring in to train with, and now we're here.
Were you like, at this point, like, I wanted to be for a title? Like, did you want to stay on this card, or was there a possibility of potentially like moving this somewhere else?
Yeah, again, I think so much things happened. Yeah, there's probably a possibility of that as well. But I enjoy performing here, so I'm glad it kind of is fallen here, where I'm performing back in the UK, in front of family, friends, with the belt.
And you're coming off of that win over Douglas Lima, avenging that loss. Would you say, I mean, you've had so many career highlights, but would you say that was the biggest one of your career?
No, not really. It's more meant something to me. Like I knew I could do it, and then I achieved it. You know, I think I can achieve it better. So that may happen again.
Yeah, speaking of, I was going to say, do you envision a trilogy with Douglas? Is that something that you want in your career?
Yeah, no, I definitely see something. He's still an active fighter, same as myself. I'm about to go and get the belt. I'm sure he's going to want that back. So yeah, I do see it in the future.
Few fighters get to be part of a trilogy, right? So is that part like of your career, getting to fight somebody 3 different times, the storyline behind it, and everything that's been said between the two of you and all that? Does that excite you to add that kind of chapter in your career?
I would have preferred to just knock him out the first time. No, it's great to have the stories and stuff. It makes for a bigger event for a lot of people. But for us, I always say you don't get paid for extra time. So if I could have just got rid of that earlier and then just moved on, then yeah, I'd have happily done that.
And that criticism that you received throughout your career of level of competition and all that, obviously that hasn't been the case lately, but did that ever get to you? I mean, obviously you put on a show, you're a different kind of fighter just because of the performances and everything you've done in and out of the cage, but that kind of criticism, is it good to kind of stick it to people, or do you not worry about it?
No, I learned very early on that people moan about absolutely nothing. So there's no point, and they're never going to be satisfied. I could beat the best in the world, and they'll be like, yeah, well, there's this person that you should be fighting. It's always the same. I've seen it in so many other people's careers and learned from watching other people. So it's just, I understand you don't try to appease those people. I'm out here trying to enjoy myself, and whoever is on that journey with me and enjoys it, good on them.
You talked about, fighting a different opponent, but they're both grapplers. In terms of your training camp, is it, I don't know if little less fun is the right word, but when you're preparing for someone you know is going to come in there and try to wrestle you for 25 minutes, does that make things like a little bit tougher, a little bit less fun in training camp?
Yeah, actually. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more painful, shall I say, because a lot more frustrating, because you're kind of working in areas that you're not the best at, but at the same time it improves those areas a lot faster, because you're more intensive in that space. So at the same time, it's massive benefits, but yeah, very frustrating camps.
And what do you make of Logan? Obviously, we got to see a lot of his striking against Neiman Gracie. After seeing that, more confident, what do you make of his striking?
Yeah, it's just nowhere near mine. It's not something that I looked at and thought, oh my God, I need to now worry about his striking. Not at all. I had already anticipated that these two fighting, it wouldn't go to the ground, because Logan's going to be worried about getting taken down, and Neiman's not going to have good enough wrestling to take Logan down. So it's going to be who's the best at stand-up, and I think it's just the best of the worst, in my opinion. And he was definitely the better striker there.
And Logan has just one loss to Amosov. Did you watch that fight, and did you think that Amosov won it?
Yeah, I saw that fight, and to be fair, it's one of those ones where if it went Logan's way, I would have no complaints. It went, Amosov's way, it was very, very close. It was very, very close. But if I was to score it, to be fair, I probably would have given it to Logan on that day. But I've only seen it, I've seen it in clips, and then I've seen it once whole, and I wasn't like zoned in the way I should be. So I'd probably have to watch it again just to actually score, each round properly. But just like that, when the first time I watched it, I thought Logan could have just crept it.
And obviously, the winner of this fight is supposed to unify the belt with Amosov, but his future is uncertain, understandably so. But the lure of him being an unbeaten fighter, does it excite you to the possibility of fighting someone like him, or for you, once you win on Friday, it doesn't matter who you fight next?
Yeah, obviously, like I said, we can't keep kind of bringing Amosov in because he's in just a crazy situation, a crazy scenario that I wouldn't wish on anybody. So. For me, until he's back, it's not even a conversation to have. I would like that fight, but it's not something I'm even thinking about chasing until his situation is resolved. So for me, once I've got this, it's on to the next. I want to keep active, so I'm not going to be waiting for that scenario to kind of resolve itself.
And speaking of activity, after that first loss to Douglas Lima, you went on, I think you fought 3 times in the span of 3 months. Was that by design, trying to get that sour taste out of your mouth?
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm a very petty man, so I want to get one back on these people. And for me, I'm kind of used to it and used to fighting a lot more regularly anyways, because from the sport that I was in before, it's near enough every weekend. So, when I lost the fight, it's like I'm probably going to see them again at this next competition, and I get a chance to go at them again and potentially beat them and kind of, resolve that a lot quicker. So it's I was like, however active I have to be, then that's exactly what I'm going to do.
And is that hard for fighters? Because I think of basketball, for example. If Steph Curry goes 1 of 7 and people say, he's not that good, he has 2 days to remind everyone, right? With you guys, a little bit different. So does that play into your mind, the unfair kind of notion that fans keep bringing up? They just kind of love to, you're only as good as your last fight kind of thing?
Yeah, I guess because of the other sports, they're so used to, like as you say, seeing people a lot more regularly. So these mishaps get, resolved way quicker. But that's just part of the game that we're in. Fortunate enough, I've got the type of style where I don't take too much damage, and I'm able, for the majority of the time, to kind of get back in. A lot of the times, it's more a case of the promotion wanting to actually promote the fight. Otherwise, I'd be like, yeah, when's the next Bellator event? Because I'm good to go. I'm still fresh. I've done a crazy camp, and then I've spent less than 5 minutes in a round, showing people my skills. I'm ready to go again. So if all goes according to plan and it's the same thing here, it would be exactly the same thing. I want to go again.
Right, and I want to touch on boxing, and I feel like us reporters get a lot of stick, but you fought professionally twice, so I feel like it's very fair to ask you, what are your plans in terms of boxing? Do you have any plans? Because we see a lot of MMA guys, but you're somebody who's fought twice and won twice, so do you think about boxing at all in your future?
Yeah, to be fair, there was a lot. The only reason I'd stopped back then is because there's a lot of politics surrounding boxing. It had nothing to do with the Bellator guys. They were very happy for me to go and do it. But now there is a lot more opportunities, and it seems to be a lot more common that people are doing it. 100%, I'll definitely get to go and you'll definitely see me in a boxing ring again at some point.
Are we talking about Jake Paul, Logan Paul, or are you talking about certain fighters? Because I can see the lure about fighting these guys.
Yeah, but for me, I would love to be the first person ever to hold a world title in MMA and hold a world title in boxing. So the Logan Pauls and those kind of things that has nothing to do with the goal. Don't get me wrong, if it's placed on the table and you see those zeros, rub your eyes a couple of times, you probably say yes. But the goal is more taking it seriously.
And we've seen a couple of MMA guys venture into boxing. Anderson Silva looks very good, but then we've seen likes of Tyron Woodley and Ben Askren. When you see that, what's your thought on that? And because people kind of seem to criticize MMA guys for even bothering to go into boxing, like they have no chance. And we're seeing Ngannou and Fury being discussed as well.
Yeah, it's just dependent. People need to understand that each MMA fighter is completely different. So you put in MMA as a category of they're all the same is wrong, because there's guys that started in boxing, didn't continue, but went into MMA, and may want to go back to boxing because they have a background in boxing, so they're better at striking. Myself, kickboxing, but I've always had to box or learn how to box from young. During the kickboxing days, my coach, my dad at the time, would tell me, you have to learn how to just defend yourself with just your hands. And then we also used to do kick fighting, so some people take certain aspects away and then we'd still have to perform. So I learned how to box, and then when I went to London Shoot Fighters, the coach is just the same. He brings people in that are just boxers, and he's like, you have to learn how to beat them in just that area. He'll bring just jiu-jitsu guys, just wrestlers, and same kind of thing, because we're mixed martial arts. We have to try and excel in all areas. So some MMA fighters are not that amazing at striking, but they were amazing elsewhere. So I think the ones we've seen go over so far haven't been that good at striking. They can strike, but they haven't been that good at striking, which is why they're criticisms. But you'll see soon.
And what do you think of Jake Paul? Like, have you been impressed by him? Just the idea of the way he's been able to grab all the headlines and stuff, and his knockouts.
Again, for me, it just makes sense. He's a person that has a lot of eyes on him due to the work that he's put in for over many years doing the YouTube videos and all of that. So he's basically brought his crowd to the table. So I understand as to why he's getting the attention. It makes sense because those eyes are willing to pay. So there's a lot of money. It attracts everybody else. He right now is super successful in that area. The influence world seems to be the big thing right now. So he's making a lot of money. He seems to be taking it seriously. So he has a lot of money to get some of the best coaches in the world. So I understand his progression would be faster than the average. But one thing I do want to say, regardless of all the criticism of him, the thing that he keeps pushing, organizations for is the better pay for athletes and stuff. I'm a massive fan of, because that's kind of my thing as well. I think the sport isn't quite at its best just yet. There's a lot of changes that need to be made, and he's also an advocate for that, so I respect him.
Is that why we see a lot of MMA fighters trying to venture into boxing and calling him out and stuff?
100%, and I think you'll see less and less fighters wanting to go over if they felt settled and comfortable in the space that they're in. But when you push yourselves like the way we do, we destroy our bodies every single day and then have to get up and do it again. Some people have to destroy their bodies, then go to work to get that money in. It's a difficult journey. You have to truly love the sport. So the guys that you're seeing right now truly love the sport. So it'd be good for them to actually get, especially when you get to a high level, to not still be complaining and struggling financially. So hopefully that does change.
I'll circle back to MMA before I let you go, and I appreciate your time. What would feel better, a quick knockout or to have kind of like 5 rounds of a show? I mean, I know you're always put on a show, but to have like 5 rounds of a show and capture that title?
Yeah, definitely the quick knockout. I think so. One of the biggest or one of the greatest feelings outside of just being in there is that relief that everything that you've done for however long came up to that moment and you did it. It's the worst feeling to have put all that work in and you get to the fight and then you lose for whatever reason. It's hard to deal with. So that moment, if I can get there and get it as quickly as possible, man, the celebration is so great. The relief is so great. It's an amazing feeling, almost equal to just being in there and putting on a show.
Do you ever think of the celebrations, or it just happens, a natural feeling?
Oh no, I definitely don't have like a Mary Poppins bag that just pulls out these things. So yeah, it's well thought out. It's something that for me, I like to bring a whole package to the table. One of my first, goals in this sport was to draw as many eyes, because there was such a negative connotation on mixed martial arts. It's gotten a lot better now. I'd like to say I've helped somewhat, just because of these celebrations. People can actually look at my style as well as the celebrations, as well as my entrances, and actually just enjoy the show and forget that it can be brutal. Which is, we get attached to it being quite tough. So for me, changing people's perspectives and making the mums and the aunties and the people that don't necessarily normally watch something like this enjoy it, I love doing it. I love taking the time to actually think about it, how I'm gonna deliver that.
Well said. Well, Mike, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and best of luck on Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.